I was waiting to see if that person's coming.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Here.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike? Here. Mrs. Kaufman? Mrs. Love? Here. Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Polakowski?
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes? Here. Mr. Benz?
Here. Let the record show that Mrs. Kaufman called and said she's on her way. She'll just be a few minutes late. Citizens' comments?
James Garsteck. Step up to the podium, please.
Hello. I've been to council meetings. This is my first school board meeting, so do you want me to tell me exactly how you want me to start? State my name, or are you guys all good with that?
We have your name.
Okay.
Generally, citizen comments are 5 minutes in length.
I won't need that much time.
All right. You're free to go then, sir.
No, listen, we all live and work and do what we can, and we all love Scottdale, I'm sure. So right off the bat, that should be, we all agree on that. But I know that we're planning on giving a tax break to the, where the Sony plant was, and I mean, it was Chrysler, and it was Volkswagen, and it was Sony, and it's going to be another business that's probably going to get some federal money. So I know we don't get any tax money, I think, because it's state-owned. I didn't really want to bring up a fact sheet. I just, maybe later we can fight over facts, but just from the people in town, I don't think that we can afford to spend money the way we are. I know that we get grants or loans or whatever, and we got to spend them this year so we don't lose the budget next year and things like that. But from the average person's point of view, paychecks aren't going up and our budgets aren't going up, and we need to all save. So, I think the old high school that we just tore down to build the football field and the clubhouse, or I think it was a $1.4 million shed we built for the trucks. I may be wrong on that number, but anyways, I watched them condemn the old school. They did that, I think, when my dad was in high school. When I was in high school, they built the new school right before. So all my buddies went there. They remodeled that school again 10 years later. We just remodeled it again. We put in a football field. And my best guess, we have about $60 million tied up in that area in the last 30 years. That's $2 million a year. We could teach a lot of kids on $2 million a year. When I came in, I saw the picture of the old Central Grade School. That building's still standing up there. I think the school district put a roof on it before they got rid of it. From what I can remember, we didn't make a penny on it. I think we lost money because we had to put a roof on it. We put in a sewage plant for Walmart, kinda, roundabout way. And everybody over in Mount Pleasant over that way, they got sewage bills. They never had them. Now, I agree sewage is nice and we all want it. But they pay 3 times the sewage rate we're paying now. And because of our sewage plant bill, all of our sewage rates are going to go up probably 2 or 3 times. We're getting hit at every angle. Walmart's going to replace the new bridge out there, or the state is going to replace the bridge for Walmart. So if we figure the sewage plant and the bridge and the amount that those infrastructure items cost for Walmart, we didn't get anything out of it. So if we're going to do anything with the old Sony plant, I really think people ought to pay their fair share. We are. Sony, the last year I think they were over there, they basically told the school board that take what you get. If I remember reading the paper correctly, the last year they were there, they only paid their previous year's taxes or something like that. It was supposed to go up. So my problem is that you can't have the taxpayers reading in the paper year after year, day after day about how everybody else is getting the sweetheart deals, and our taxes I can't say for sure. I do pay my taxes. They're not included in my mortgage. And that's another problem. Most people's taxes are included in their mortgage. They don't know where, the bank sends them a letter and says, you owe us another $100 a month or something. It's craziness. If people knew what they actually paid. So we just need to draw the line. And I don't know exactly where that line needs to be. I don't want to see the kids get hurt. But I don't think a $1.4 million shed helped the kids either, or plenty of other things. So if we discuss this, if you guys are going to be on this subject next week, I'll probably have some, maybe facts or fact sheet if you want. But, other than that, I just wanted to get up here and let everybody know that people in town are hurting. I actually was laid off and did the census. That wasn't actually a preferred job, but it was a decent job. But I got to go around and see a lot of people. I did a lot of Scottsdale. They tried to keep you close in your area. It's rough out there. So as long as we just all think about that whenever we're thinking about spending the next dollar, because I don't know. Gas is $4 a gallon. It's been $4. It cost me $75 a week. So you think about that. That's $2 an hour if you don't work in town, and there aren't any jobs here. So we need to take all that into consideration. An extra $35 a week over 52 weeks. It might be costing me $1,500 a year extra in gas.
Thanks for your time. Your 5 minutes is up, but just to let you know, we're having a budget meeting on 17th?
Yes, the 17th.
17th, so if you...
10th, excuse me.
10th.
Budget meeting is the 10th, next week.
10th, so... Thank you. Any more citizens' comments?
Margie Lips.
I agree with him. That's basically what I was going to talk about. Was I'm here speaking for the taxpayers of the district, and to ask that you consider the gross income between the average taxpayers like me and the average school employees, because there's quite a difference, and we're paying their wages, and our wages aren't going up. I'm a business owner, like so many other in the district, and we're suffering because of the population decline. People are they're trying to save money, food, fuel's going up, and we have to cut back on our expenses. But it doesn't seem like you guys are. You've spent money that we don't have, and then you expect us to come up with the money by raising our taxes. And I don't think it's fair. You don't ask us what we think, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. I don't think we should be spending money. You go out and spend money when you don't have it. You save it and then spend it, or work towards saving it. Where, I just want everyone to, we're looking for you to look out for us, is what I'm trying to say. And you should sit back and think, how would you like it if someone came to you and said, you owe me $200 or $300 or $400 for something, and you didn't want it? We're not against, like he said, we're not against the children. But all these buildings and all this stuff that is being spent is uncalled for. It's just, I think it's needless myself. I need a roof on my house. I need, work done in my home. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. And I think you should just sit back and and think about the people that are paying the wages of all this. You're looking at me like as if I'm nuts.
No, I'm just listening.
But that's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to voice my opinion, and I'm speaking for the taxpayers, because I've talked to a lot of people, and it's tough on everybody, not just me, but everybody in the district. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Vince Philly Jr.
I'll try to be brief and concise. I didn't bring this paper up here to read to you and start stating facts. It's really more for my reference than anything else. I've never really spoken to the school board before. I've never felt a need to. But I have to tell you, I own my own company, and it's a construction company. We do the best that we can, but we have to make sure that our costs remain competitive or we lose customers. We can't just make as much money as we'd like. And being the owner of the company, there's a lot of times whenever I cut a paycheck and I can't deposit that paycheck. There've been a lot of times when I'm giving checks to my men that, I wish I was making that much. There's times I wish I didn't have to roll pennies and coin jars to make sure that the utilities got paid because of a sudden expense. Transmission going in a vehicle is enough to break you. I'm not a financial wizard. I don't think you really have to be to know that if you're in a situation where you're doing a certain amount of business and revenue drops off because you just don't have that many customers, you don't raise your prices to try to make the difference up because people will just go somewhere else. That's a business model. That's private enterprise. This is a completely different type of arrangement because we don't have any choice but to pay what is mandated. I've always thought that if you didn't have enough money, if you couldn't make what you need, you implement cost-cutting measures. You don't just reach into a magical pool of money. The thing that bothers me is I have a lot of repairs I have to do on my home. I can't afford to do them. I'm hoping that things will change. I see ups and downs. But if my taxes go up, well, that's one less thing that I have that I can start putting towards just paying my bills. I've seen a lot of properties around my home in town go up for foreclosure. A lot of friends and families have moved away. And a lot of those buildings, they're not occupied. Nobody moved into them again. There's fewer people here. Our average student cost is 66% of the average income, if I'm reading this right. Whether that figure's 100,000 or 1,000, if the average student is costing 66% of the average income of a tax-paying citizen, something's wrong. I'm not going to continue to beat your ear. I appreciate your time. I just want to try to get across that it's really hard out there. If I could say a word or make a motion or just wish money in, I would. When you make a decision to vote to raise the taxes in this district, as you have the power to, I ask you, please have some mercy on the people that aren't making much money, maybe don't have kids that go to the school. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Minutes?
When we get to the voting portion of the meeting, you'll be asked to approve the minutes of the April 12th and April 19th meeting, and you'll notice there is an amendment to the April 19th minutes.
Finance?
You'll be asked to approve the board detailed revenue report for April 2012. The treasurer's report is not available yet. You will also be asked to vote to approve the Central Westmoreland Career and Technology Center budget. Originally, we were going to ask you also to approve a tax revenue anticipation note for the Career and Technology Center. However, we were premature. The resolution from their solicitor has not arrived yet, and we have a couple other things that we need to work out before we ask you to approve that, so we will do that on the 24th. Old business? Bond refinance.
What about bond refinance or money?
Yeah, bond refinance. Okay. Mr. Salem, do you want to discuss our bond refinance a little bit?
Yeah. Got a call from Mr. Kinney today. They have all the paperwork in. Bond refinance should be done in about 3 weeks. What we're probably going to recommend to the board to do would be to take the approximately $400,000 in proceeds and apply that towards our debt service. And that should help alleviate some of the budgetary pressures we're experiencing.
Did I hear you right?
Yes, Dr. Fike, you heard me correctly.
That's wonderful.
I thought you'd be happy. May I have one more
Yeah, our preliminary estimate on that is that in the first year, that will reduce our debt service by approximately $135,000. So that'll go a little ways toward filling up that hole that we're projecting and trying really hard to fill in, because we hear what these folks are saying. Good, Bill.
I commend you for that. I really do.
One more thing. I passed around, just before you all sat down, I talked about this before, the Act 25. You know, homeowners are allowed to pay their property taxes in 3 installments. The state mandated that we give that same option to small business owners that have less than 50 employees. Colleagues of mine have found it difficult to determine who has 50 employees, who has 51 employees, or 5,000 employees. So what most of the other districts that I've heard from are saying is that they're going to expand that resolution to include all taxpayers to pay their property taxes in 3 installments. That'll just simplify things for tax collectors as well. So we need to approve that resolution by June 30th, and I think we're going to have it on the agenda for the May 24th voting meeting.
So this is which tax, the April? Or wait, the September one?
No, this is the September school taxes, and what you have there are 2 different resolutions. One is sort of a generic resolution from Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials. The other one is our existing installment agreement. That's the 3-page one, behind the first page, and that's the one that's already existing. And I imagine that our solicitor will somehow merge the 2 to have a satisfactory resolution for the board to consider on May 24th. Any questions about that?
So the motion here is the old motion that establishes things as they are now, right? And it would be modified then to include all taxes.
So the board's going to adopt a new resolution.
Yeah, is this the new one?
Yes, let's say it's a prototype.
This is the new one?
Yes.
Okay, well, I misunderstood. I
Okay.
thought that,
Don't we all, I'm mixed up, don't we already have the option in September to pay 3
Yes.
things?
Homeowners do.
Businesses do not, so this will expand it to include businesses as well.
And typically, your businesses aren't going to pass up the 10% discount and pay in installments. So it's kind of a moot point for them, but, some small business owners, struggling, and this will give them that option to spread their taxes out.
they don't get 10%, do they?
2%.
2.
10% penalty, 2%.
10% penalty, yeah,
Yeah.
we only get 2 ahead of time. And that's not real lucrative, but,
That's all.
Old business? When we get to the voting meeting, you will be asked to adopt a resolution to award a contract to complete the repair and replacement to the stadium pipe. There were 9 bids received. Of those 9 bids, the lowest qualified bid was from Piccolomini Contractors Incorporated, and their price was $156,750. So we'll ask you to approve that resolution when we vote. We're going to table the next item. Dr. Scott wanted to provide some information about some of the salary information that was presented at the budget meeting, but Dr. Scott is unable to be here this evening, so we will postpone that comment.
New business discussion?
We're going to ask that you authorize administration to approve federal programs applications. Those are generally due by June 30th. We'd like to start working on those in May, so we'll be doing that.
Life choices?
Our high school is about to host a Life Choices Summit. I believe that's going to be in lieu of Grim Reaper Day. And Ms. Shelby Kahn is here to talk to you a little bit about that this evening. Yeah, she's coming to the podium.
I'd like to thank you for coming and let me speak about this summit. We're going to be hosting this at the high school commons area. It's going to be on May 9th, 6 to 8 p.m. And what we're trying to do is educate Scottdale and the surrounding communities about healthy life choices that kids face daily. Anything from drugs to stress to alcohol, all the way down to suicide prevention. At the event, we're going to have 2 speakers. Assistant Police Chief Kevin Grippo, who will be talking about social media and cyberbullying. And also we will have Detective Anthony Marcacci, who will talk about drugs awareness and prevention. At the summit, just for walking in the door, you have an opportunity to win a Apple iPod and a $50 iTunes gift card or an iPad. So just for coming to the event, you have a chance to win one of those. There will be raffles at each of the booths, and there will also be a Chinese auction. Mount Pleasant is also sending 8 members of their National Honor Society to come work alongside our National Honor Society. So that shows some community unity in the cause. Like I said, it's free to get in, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby. And that's next Wednesday, correct? Thank you.
Is Mount Pleasant invited too?
Shelby, question?
Whole public's invited.
Did they invite Mount Pleasant too?
Yes, we sent out letters to the surrounding schools,
That's
and Mount Pleasant responded to us.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby.
Reschedule board meetings?
Yeah, we looked at some of the things that we need to get accomplished in the next couple of months and some timelines, and we thought it was necessary to reschedule some board meetings. We thought that we could cover most of May business tonight. It's not a real heavy agenda, so that's why we combined the meetings. And then we would like next Thursday, which would normally be our voting meeting, we would like that to be a budget discussion meeting. The following Thursday, the 17th, the administration is recommending that the board meet in my office if you choose to participate in the board level interviews for the golf coach and the cheerleading coach positions. On May 24th, then, we will vote to post the proposed budget that provides us the opportunity to have the 30-day posting period. We will also use that meeting to catch up on any unfinished business that we have for the month of May. We'll have our students here, and they will give their final student report of their senior year. So we'll tie those things up at a May 24th voting meeting. Then we're recommending a planning session on June the 14th and a voting session on June the 28th, at which time the final budget would be adopted, and we would cover any of June's business that needs to be covered. July, we usually only have one meeting. We're recommending July 12th, and that would be a planning and voting meeting similar to this evening's format. We're also recommending that the August meetings be moved back 1 week. That gives us an opportunity, just in the event that we have any last-minute personnel decisions that need to be made, and we can make those before the start of the school year. And it also accommodates the administrators who will be out of town on August the 2nd. So the August meetings then would be August 9th and August the 16th.
Kenny indicate when he thought we would be acting on the bond resolution?
The 24th of May.
More discussion on that?
Any discussion on the board meeting reschedule?
Cafeteria oven?
And this item was not on the original agenda that we had sent home, but Mrs. Huggins sent me an email shortly after we sent the agendas out. So Lynn, do you want to talk a little bit about your proposal?
I have asked Dr. Molnar to put on the agenda an approval for the cafeteria to purchase a double-stack convection oven. This would be a replacement oven at the senior high school. And so that is on the agenda, and we have sought 3 quotes for that, and we are accepting the lowest quote.
And this oven is a replacement item because the other one is worn out and parts are no longer available, is that correct?
No, it's repairable, but the price to repair it, I feel, based on its age, we would be better off buying a replacement oven at this time.
And that would come out of your
Cafeteria
proprietary
funds.
Cafeteria funds and
Yes.
not the general fund, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and that price was $6,488 from Tri-State Equipment of Beaver Falls. So we'll ask you to vote on that at the voting portion of our meeting.
Any questions or comments?
I think just someone that said go over the bond refinance.
No, for Lynn first.
Oh, Lynn, no.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Lynn.
I wasn't sure how much we were getting from that. Is that 400 total that we're getting?
That
You're
could,
not getting that in a lump sum, right?
No. But
no,
over,
I think we talked about a couple different times. Getting
right. We don't know exactly what the amount will be because it's based on the market at the time the bonds are issued.
I see.
But our latest estimate, I have that document here. Our latest estimate was if we were to do cash at closing, it would be $414,139.40. We would get a check at closing. But our recommendation to you, and this is something you'll vote on the 24th when you vote hopefully to approve the finance, is rather than take that check at closing, we would refinance our payment schedule so that we'll be paying for the next 4 years anywhere from $104,000 to $139,000 less per year in debt service than we're currently paying. So in other words, we're reducing our annual expenditure. Does that answer your question? Is that what you were asking?
Does that reduce the amount we owe to?
No. Well, okay, well, let's get into the discussion we got into last week about whether we owe principal or principal and interest.
Well, yeah.
It does not reduce our principal, but overall it doesn't reduce our principal, but the refinance reduces the amount of interest we're paying because we're refinancing at a lower interest rate. So we're saving $414,000 in interest payment is what it amounts to.
And we'll do that for 4 years.
Yeah, I believe it's 4 years, yeah.
Right.
And we got this document very late in the day today talking to Mr. Kinney. The difference in year 1 would be $134,686. In years 2 and 3, it would be $108,064, and in year 4, it would be $100,378 in savings. And then in other years, we would, some would, 1 year goes down by $600, another year goes up by $1,000. Just the way the schedule works out, and I have no idea how they do that, by the way, so please don't ask me.
No.
If we think of it just in terms of this year's, the projected budget, would the 135 help with the 900,000 margin?
Right.
Yes.
So that's what we'd be talking about.
Yes.
Then.
Yes.
So that knocks 135,000 off the deficit
yes.
that we have listed.
900 to 800.
Yeah.
Right.
700.
Although we don't apply it to the deficit, we apply it to the debt service, and then that subsequently knocks it off. So, and again, that's semantics, but that's how the law is written.
Does it lower the payment, though?
It lowers the payment
It
by
lowers the payment.
$134,000
Okay,
in the
so,
first
okay,
year.
that's all I'm saying. So we
Yes.
would have that money available
Yes.
to deal with that deficit that we have here.
Yes.
I have a question. If I want to put an item on the agenda, this is a discussion meeting, the next meeting is the voting meeting, how do you do that?
Usually you contact the president, and he would put the item on the agenda.
Okay,
But
I'm
if you want-
contacting.
Okay, yeah. You want a voting item on for this meeting? Is that what-
Yeah.
Okay. what
Where
would
do
that
I
be?
put it? It's under old business.
Is it the letter you sent me, or is it something else?
No,
Oh.
no, that's to, you
Well, I was
got
gonna
my
bring
letter,
that-
though.
I was going to bring that up, but that's why I was asking for the same thing.
No, you bring that up then. It would be after accepting the stadium pipe bid.
Would you maybe discuss it before we vote on it, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah, you'll discuss it.
Talk
yeah.
about
So
it
it's-
now?
Since board policy says that 3 members need to bring something to the president, why don't you bring it up now? If you have 3 people that want me to put it on, we'll add it on.
Oh, I'm not aware of that. I'm aware of the fact that, what I can do, if nothing else, is do a walk-on.
Okay, well, would you like to discuss your item?
Superintendent has a
Let's hear what it is.
I want to deal with reducing the taxes for the businesses in Scottsdale.
Say more.
We have reduced the taxes dramatically for people who aren't even here. And I had 3 phone calls, and there is concern that we may actually be losing businesses in Scottsdale if we don't do something about giving them a break too. You don't have to create a Keystone Opportunity Zone. You just need to give these people a break because they're really struggling, and some of them may close, and we may lose even more than we have to do something to help them out.
Do they get any kind of a break now, just straight like you and I?
Do you have a time frame of, whether it's a 1-year thing or?
We could talk about that, Ken. We could talk about, as the Keystone Opportunity people got 10 years, we can give them 10 years, we can give them 5, we can give them something to help them. But they're really struggling right now because the economy is down. One of the things that scared me, and Levi, you always say that people want to move into districts with good schools. When I come here from my house, I come to the Sunoco station and I turn right, and then I turn right again. From the second right-hand turn off Broadway, there's not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 beautiful homes for sale in a block. Right down here, in a block, there's 4 for sale signs. I did have a real estate agent tell me that this was a couple months ago, that just in Scottsdale alone, just in the Scottsdale area, just 1 agent had 37 listings for sale. And everywhere you go, there are these for sale signs. And we have businesses who are really struggling. They're coming in here, they're putting their money where their mouth is. We're giving them nothing. And I think we need to really think about that. I think what has happened up till now is because we haven't given them a break. Mr. Petonic probably won't agree with me, but I think that's why we're going to get these tax appeals left and right. We're just getting them left and right because people are saying we won't pay these taxes anymore. And I'd rather see people get a fair break than to go through these appeals, these constant appeals. And the fact, it's been established now. It's already established that we gave 10 years of free taxes away again. That will be, that's 30 years we've given tax breaks. And I just think that we need to think about the people who are here. Mr. Villi, to me, is the face of the business of Scottsdale. I've never met him before. I've never seen him before. But I believe he's the person who represents whether this town is going to live or die. And I think we should discuss giving them a tax break.
There are limited opportunities to do that, and they revolve around LERTA-type programs, which the board had been involved in the past and may have become disenchanted with in the past also.
What are they?
In which you grant an exemption for a specific period of time on new construction, new improvements, but not existing improvements. The KOEZ zone has a specific state statute that the state legislature passed to permit both the state and the local taxing districts granting exemptions. The problem is that we don't have unilateral control over creating a district. They're limited in size, and they would have to have approval, in the case of the KOEZ zone, the Department of Community Affairs. So, unfortunately, there's not a statutory basis for carving out an exception for existing business properties in just one district, part of the school district, or for that matter, even throughout the school district, and to say, okay, for this year, we're going to lower your taxes by X%, or treat your assessment as though it were lower. There's no legal basis currently on the law to do that.
Is there a legal basis that prohibits us from doing that?
Yeah, we don't have the authority to grant exemptions or exclusions that aren't provided for in the taxing law.
And that taxing law says that we cannot lower taxes.
You can lower millage for everybody, but that means cutting the budget.
And it may well be. But what I'm getting at is we have given 13 cents a square foot to the people there in wherever they are. Can we not give 13 cents a square foot to the businesses that exist in this town?
Only if the state had ownership of those properties. So those people would have to turn over their deeds to the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority and say, oh, here, we don't want our property anymore, you take it, and then lease it back to us. So we don't have to pay, and you don't have to pay taxes. Well, if you can get PETA to do that, great, but I don't think they're going to do it for an existing small property. Those properties are usually when the state wants to do these big manufacturing development things, like, unfortunately, the way Volkswagen and Sony, either fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon your point
So
of view.
it's not even legal for us to give the same break to our businesses.
Correct. The
As
state
you guys gave to the
legislature
rest
has
of them.
co-opted that. They're in charge of that. The state legislature.
These people are going to leave. I'm telling you, times are getting really tough.
Are we talking just Scottsdale, or are we talking
The district.
whole
It has to be
school
the district. It has to be the
Because you keep
district.
saying Scottsdale in town, but we're talking the whole district. We're talking
I
about...
stand corrected. I
Okay.
mean the district. I think within the district. But there aren't that many other ones in the district.
Oh, there is. If you get out right around, there's a lot of businesses in the township.
So is there 3 people in support of putting this on the agenda?
I think Mr. Capone just said it's not legal.
I'm not
I
saying
know, but
it's legal
just
to
to-
act upon, but if you want to discuss it some more by putting it on the agenda, you can, but unless you can bring something else to my attention, this sounds as though it would be illegal and that we would not have the authority to institute it.
I agree with you, I'm just...
Can we put it on we have, a budget meeting on the 10th. Can we ask Mr. Botonic to do some research and come back to us and find out how we can help these businesses, the businesses in our school district, if it's possible?
If you get 3 people to vote for that, but I don't think we need him spending time on it if it's illegal, but if you have 3 people,
I'm asking him to research it, Mike. I'm asking him to
that costs money. So,
Okay,
Yep.
all right, so we don't research it, okay.
see if you have the vote.
Is there anything to research? If you think there's something to research, then let's research it. But if you think it's not, then we don't.
Well,
That's my question.
based upon my, previous experience in this area, I'm not saying that, I have a perfect memory for every single thing, but I've given you a summary of the law and of the ability and inability to grant exemptions or exclusions. And if you're not going to do a LERTed type district for improvements, and you don't have the ability to do your own KOZ zone on your own, I don't know of any other mechanism to treat businesses differently than all of the other properties in the district that are taxable.
When I was on the board not too long ago, somebody came in with a historical property and we waived all the taxes. We have a lot of properties that are not on the tax rolls for different reasons. That's why.
Something that was exempt?
Yeah, that.
Well, if it's exempt, you know, well, what sometimes happens is you have a property that goes from taxable and it may have some current taxes due on it. And the owner says, oh, I'm going to donate it to the borough, or I'm going to donate it to the township for a park, or I'm going to donate it to the XYZ Society because it has historical value, and they're tax exempt. And as a result of that, we sometimes get requests from the county assessment office saying, do you agree to waive your claims for existing taxes because going forward, it's not going to be taxable anymore.
Right.
And I'm sure, I know there would have been some instances in the past where some property was donated, I can't remember if it was a park or what, but, and some other things where you can do that kind of thing. But again, that's where the owner is going from being taxable to being tax exempt. They're, in that case, giving up the property. They're giving it to somebody else. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about someone who is a current taxpayer, and they're up to date with their bills. They're doing everything legit, and they're you know, a good public citizen. Unfortunately, the way the tax laws are written, you can't come in and say, oh, we want to give a special break this year to all businesses. The only thing you can do is, as I said before, and it's very difficult to do, and that is to decrease your overall budget so that you lower the millage for everybody, not just businesses or not just residences, but literally everybody who's taxable.
Well, we did ask for a budget with a tax decrease, and we didn't get it, right, Ken? We did ask, and we didn't get it, and, you know, we're living with that. But my concern is what's going to happen to these businesses. The only option they're going to have is they should all come in now and challenge their taxes. When Mr. Salem put up that overhead display, I think it's at $400 and some thousand we have in potential losses, right, from taxes. Yeah. Potential losses from taxes.
The only way to lower your tax liability is to appeal your valuation, your assessed valuation of your property. And since the county hasn't reassessed since, I think, late 60s, early 70s, a lot of valuations are, you know, out of kilter. And in lieu of the county going through a full-blown reassessment, which, you know, Allegheny County has done twice since then, people are taking it upon themselves to ask for reassessments, and that's part of what we're seeing is that there is potentially, you know, loss of tax revenue because, you know, people lowering their assessments.
Now, all the appeals that I've seen are businesses. Do people?
Because
you don't show us homes. You don't show us homes.
They're the most at stake.
Do you have homes on? Do you have people with homes that are reassessing?
I don't get involved with anything under $100,000 of assessment. And most of the time, that excludes residences, because that's what the threshold was that was established by the school board many years ago, to sort of establish a, you know, okay, here, you know, if this comes in, you have to pay attention to it, whereas if it's a $20,000 assessment,
Are there others? Are there others out there, David?
Pardon?
Are there others out there?
Other what?
Appeals that are below that number.
Yes.
Oh, yes. People appeal residences or businesses under $100,000, and the notices come to my office. They're forwarded by by Peggy or Mr. Salem, And I look at them to see, well, okay, is this an assessment appeal? And how big is it? And if it's under 100,000, unless there's some other really strange legal issue involved, I don't have anything to do with it.
So there's no way for us to help these businesses then?
Well, wait a minute here. I think the point, you're making the point. You disagreed with the vote, Dr. Fike, that we took a week or 2 weeks ago. I understand that. No, it does matter, and that's why you're bringing this up. So in order to emphasize that point, you're saying we want to give an abatement to everyone, to all the businesses. Well, in fact, almost inviting everybody to challenge our taxes. Well, taxes are not even, and I think it was a debatable choice. We made our best judgment we could. I don't think there's much gained here in almost teasing people to say challenge the taxing system.
Levi, people are hurting.
None of us.
People are hurting.
Now wait a minute. Are we here in a kind of a? You are the first. I don't want to get into make this personal, but to do kind of a tear-jerk thing here in regards to taxes. None of us want to pay more than our fair share of the taxes, and we can debate what that fair share should be, and that's what we've been doing here. But I'd hate to see us spend all evening in looking at this one case because we disagreed on the vote that was taken 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whenever it was, to then push this into a kind of a session as though there's one person here who cares about the businesses here and the rest of us do not. It's not quite that simple, folks. We all care about the taxes. We all care about fair and a just tax system. And we're constantly making these kind of judgments versus what's the cost of a good quality education, what is the cost of that, and what can we afford, and we're all in it together.
And on a good note, this, what we're going to vote on in a little bit, should help the businesses as well. I mean, this should really help them so they can make payments and not one big lump sum in September.
Josie, small businesses are
But I mean,
the
this is one way
lifeblood
to
of
help. It's one
our
little way to
district.
help. I mean, is that something they can go to the legislators to ask? I mean, Ted Harhide or...
That'd be a place to go, because otherwise they have to change in Harrisburg. So anyone else have anything to bring up before our citizens' comments? I have a couple things before we go to citizens' comments. You all received a copy of the committees. Just for clarification, and Dr. Mona or Peggy didn't know this because it just happened right before the meeting. Changed Dan Clare's name to, Vince Mash's name. Dan gave us lots of good input the first parts of the meetings that he attended. He was in this building previous, and now we're going to get Vince involved because he's in the building now, and that'll help us to figure out what his points of view are. So just change those names, please.
Which
For the 707?
707.
Yeah.
So Dan Clare's off, Vince Mash is on?
Right. And, in response to a board member bringing up about our policy that we have and not having a policy committee, in our board policy book, policy 005 on page 4, it lists the policies that are mandated by our policy book. And as you can see, some were left out previous years, and some were added to, but weren't according to policy. So, also, I'm going to be looking at the policy book and bringing a list of policies for people to look at according to the committees that they're on, and that way we can move on to covering more of the policies for this coming year. And Dr. Fike's letter sent to me, just to let you know, that information can be brought up at our Budget and Finance meeting on May 10th, and we can cover that then.
Okay, will we go down the list and address the concerns that were enumerated?
I'll try to get those organized in some kind of a categorical manner so that we can address them.
Okay, that would be good.
And also, just for the people out in the audience and on our TV audience, asking for the interest of the vote to have Attorney Petonic look into this. Different times board members have gone to Attorney Petonic and asked him to research and look into stuff, and we incur a bill for that. And people shouldn't go out on their own and do that as a board member. It should come from at least 3 board members according to policy to come on the agenda, or through the president or superintendent. So that's why I asked for that. It's nothing against the Scottsdale businesses or outside Southmoreland School District businesses. I'm a Scottsdale resident myself, so it's nothing against them. It's just trying to follow policy. Citizens' comments? You can have 5 minutes. You can have 5 minutes now, or you can wait. We're going to go to executive session, come out and have another voting meeting. You can do your citizens' comments, and it's up to you. What's that?
Why don't you go ahead and fill out a card while we're in executive session, and then we'll catch you when the voting meeting starts here shortly, okay?
So I need a motion to adjourn for personnel. Recess to personnel.
We're adjourning this meeting.
Motion by Mrs. Love, second. Second by Mr. Beistel. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those in favor? Aye. Can we do pledge allegiance again? No. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Here.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Here.
Mrs. Kaufman? Here. Mrs. Love? Here. Mr. Miller? Here. Mr. Polakowski?
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes? Here. Mr. Benz?
Here. Citizens' comments?
Yeah. Kim, can you grab her papers, please? Sharon Barkley, please.
Hi, I'm coming back to the board again. It didn't seem to help the last time, so I'm appealing to you again. I really would like to see if you can't do something about our tax increase. Can't you offer us something like, why can't you give us a tax freeze? Please. My husband has been working for the same company. He's been on a pay freeze for 4 years. He is also has to pay the first $2,000 in his health insurance. He works for a local company. He could get probably a better job, but because of my health issues, he wants to be here. Please, I cannot continue to afford your tax increases. It's just ridiculous. And like that individual gentleman said, well, you can make it monthly, quarterly, whatever. That doesn't change anything. You make so much a year, that's it. Whether you pay it monthly, quarterly, yearly, it doesn't matter. You only have so much to work with. Please, take into consideration us now. I mean, the teachers, you took into consideration for us. Now start working for us, okay? Please, just think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes?
It's recommended that the board approve the minutes of the April 12th discussion meeting and the April 19th, 2012 voting meeting. Correction was made to the vote results on the meeting of April 19th to reflect the proper information on the vote for the PSBA platform.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second. Second by Mr. Beistel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Motion passes 8-1. Business and Finance, fund accounts.
It's recommended that the board approve the revenue report, expenditure report, bills payable, and accounts payable for 2012.
Motion?
April 2012, excuse me.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Rhodes, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Polakowski. Question on the motion? Roll call?
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. CWCTC General Operating Budget.
It is recommended that the board approve the Central Westmoreland Career and Technology Center general operating budget for the 2012-2013 school year.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kaufman, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Love. Questions on the motion?
Does the next item that we're going to eliminate affect that budget?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
The next item would be an advance that they will use until such time
And
as
it
the
wouldn't
district starts to
change.
pay
It
their
wouldn't
bills,
change.
right?
Yeah, that's fine.
But the numbers wouldn't change.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Need a motion to table CWCTC tax revenue anticipation loan.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kaufman, second.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions? Roll call. What can we do? Roll call.
Dr. Fike?
You're just rescinding the motion.
We're tabling it until another
Just
meeting.
Yes, yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Old business, accept pipe bid.
It is recommended that the board accept the lowest qualified bid for the stadium pipe project as per the attached resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of the Southmoreland School District hereby approves the disqualification of the bid by Custom Contracting for failure to submit proof of liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance certificates and complete references, and the bid of Gary Metzinger, cement contractor, for failure to submit proof of liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance certificates and references, and declares and awards the contract for the stadium pipe project to the lowest qualified bidder, Piccolomini Contractors Incorporated, in the amount of $156,750, and authorizes and directs the president to execute and the secretary to attest to the form of the contract upon the contractor submitting the executed contract and necessary bonds.
Motion. Motion by Mr. Miller, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beistel. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
No.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 8-1. New business, annual application for Title I and Title II.
It is recommended that the board authorize administration to complete and submit annual applications for Title I and Title II. Those are both federal programs.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kaufman, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Polakowski. Questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Change of board meetings.
It is recommended that the board reschedule meetings for the months of May, June, July, and August 2012 as follows, and authorize administration to post and advertise the changes. May 3rd, planning session and voting meeting. May 10th, budget discussion meeting. May 24th, voting meeting to post the proposed 2012-2013 budget and conduct any other business that may come before the board. June 14th, planning session. June 28th, voting meeting to adopt the budget and conduct any June business that may come before the board. July 12th, planning session and voting meeting. August 9th, planning session. August 16th, voting meeting.
Motion?
I make the motion, yes.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second.
Second.
Could I just
Second by
raise-
Mrs. Rhodes. Questions?
Could I just raise this question? Not proposing it, but I must have missed something. We'd planned to go on vacation the 28th. Is there an earlier date like the 27th that suits everybody? I don't have to be here for that, but I'm just, and I can possibly, but I'm just raising it if it's even within the range of possibility.
27th?
I can come on the 27th.
To move it up a day, and it includes a lot of people here. But all I'm saying is, for whatever reason, I must not have noticed this, and yeah.
No, you can't go on vacation with me.
No, and
Unless we all come with you.
yeah, okay. But if it's even, Stephen, to everybody, just to move it one day, that's why I'm just raising it. But if it's
If we have
at all
enough
a
for a quorum,
problem,
we can just go with the 28th. Do we have, can you make it on 28th, Ken?
27th.
27.
Well, I'm asking about the 28th, which is originally in the motion.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you make it, Josie?
I can, but I'd like to see Mr. Miller here.
Gail,
I'd
can-
like to.
I agree.
Move it up one day ain't gonna hardly kill anybody, I
No, fine.
don't think. Administration?
27th.
So
We
are
need to
are you
change
amending
that.
your motion to the 27th, Mr. Miller?
Does it work with you?
Fine, yeah.
If,
My concern is getting us 30 or more days past May 24th, and
Then
that would
27th
do
certainly
it.
accomplishes
if
that.
it's
for
okay
us.
with you, okay, then I would amend it to change that to the 27th, to June 27th, instead of June 28th.
Gail, are you amenable to that?
Any more questions or discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman? Mrs. Love? Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Oven replacement in the high school cafeteria.
It is recommended that the board approve the lowest qualified quote of $6,488 for one South Bend Silver Star gas double-stack convection replacement oven for the Southmoreland High School cafeteria that would be purchased through the cafeteria fund.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Fike, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Kaufman. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Personnel, FMLA, Elizabeth Goodman.
It is recommended that the board approve an FMLA leave for Elizabeth Goodman from approximately May 4th, 2012 through October 19th, 2012.
Motion. Motion by Mrs. Rhodes, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beistel. Questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. FMLA, Hillary Minnick.
It is recommended that the board approve an FMLA leave for Hillary Minnick from approximately August 22nd, 2012 through November 13, 2012.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kaufman, second.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions?
Hey, Jack, is school in session on August 22nd? Is that why
That's our first in-service day.
That's, I was wondering. It seemed early, and
Right,
I
that's
just
our
didn't
first
know what it was.
in-service day.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Motion passes 9-0. Yes, motion passes 9-0.
It's recommended that the board approve the addition to the day-to-day substitute list.
Motion.
So be it.
Motion by Mr. Beistel, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Polakowski. Questions?
We have to cross off the S.
Yeah, it's one addition.
Roll call.
And by the way, this will be pending receipt of this gentleman's credentials
Clearances.
and clearances. He's currently finishing his student teaching in our social studies department.
Oh.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Middle school team leader resignations.
It is recommended that the board open the following middle school team leader positions: 6th grade team leader, 7th grade team leader, 8th grade team leader, itinerant team leader, and at the elementary school, which is not printed on your agenda, grade 3 team leader and grade 4 team leader.
Motion. Motion by Mrs. Rhodes, second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Love. Questions? Roll call, please.
Dr. Fike?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes?
Mr. Polakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Alt?
Yes.
Mr. Beistel?
Yes.
Mr. Benz?
Yes, motion passes 9-0. Any board members have anything else to public?
When we meet on the 10th, will we be getting your recommendations for the budget?
Yes. And if we have them ready a couple days ahead of that, we'll get them to you as soon as
Well,
we
it's
have them
okay.
ready.
No, it's okay. Just 10th is good.
I just want to say, it was a really good meeting tonight. Back and forth, it was really good. And just if I could ask everybody, I'm so proud of everything that we're doing here, and keep in prayers the marching band. They're getting ready to go on a bus trip tomorrow morning to Busch Gardens, so safe journey to them. And Southmoreland beat Mount Pleasant tonight in softball, so it's a good day in South.
And I just got an email that our boys tennis team is also the section champs. They won their game today and clinched that as well.
Anybody else?
Ken wants to apply for the position of tennis coach.
I just wanted to continue on with the compliments. Compliment and congratulate the students and staff here at Southmoreland for the outstanding academic achievement. To be the third most overachieving school district in the region and the 11th most overachieving district in the state is stunning. I also compliment our administration and staff for not being satisfied, resting on their laurels with the results. By establishing stretch goals, shows that our district is not just running in place, but always reaching for the stars. Again, congratulations for a job well done.
Anything
also,
else?
the local paper has a very nice add-in also congratulating our the staff and students. So again, kudos.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn? Motion by Mrs. Kaufman, second. Second by Mrs. Rhodes. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.